All right, Avinash, and we are live. And what is today's topic? Love and relationships. Okay, so this is part
I'm
of
wearing
the.
pink. Today is Valentine's Day. I'm
That's
wearing a
red.
pink color. No, it's not.
Wait. So today, it's Tuesday. Every Tuesday, we do Tuesday talks with Team iThrive, and today because it's Valentine's Day, Avinash and I were nominated as the speakers to speak about love and relationships.
Hmm.
And both of us have been extremely busy in our respective work all through the day, so we have no idea what we're going to speak about. So I would invite the audience to, of course, ask questions and all of that. But yeah, so we are speaking about love and relationships. Where do we start, Avinash?
What is love?
I think even before we start with what is love, no, we should talk of how our relationship happened, right? So, from my perspective, I had gotten out of a really long 14-year marriage. Some people laugh and say that Ram Ka Vanvas also was that much only. I laugh
Mhm.
with them when they say that. But I had gotten out of that. I definitely was not interested in getting into any other relationships. I wanted to really focus on finding myself and who I am and like just figuring out what I wanted to do on this planet. And I think so. The divorce happened in 2017. I spent 2 years alone, mostly as a nomad and all of that. And then 2017 is when we started dating, right? I mean, 2019 is when we started dating. And at that point, I had kind of come to the conclusion that I wanted a more of a conscious relationship, though that word wasn't there at that time. But I wanted an awakened partner, so to speak, not woke. And I knew you as a friend, and somewhere there, like in being friends with you, I thought that maybe like what I was looking for was there in you, and that's where we started dating, and that's how we found each other. What was it like for you, like finally being in a relationship with me?
No, with you is like another story. There will have a separate episode for that. How did I landed up with you? That is what is even more interesting. I also had my own one bus and whatever Ram Sita Kahani, and I came out of my relationship, and immediately there was another relationship, and there was another one, and there was another one. Right? But every time what I've learned in each of these relationships is what I don't want. So always it was like, "Yeah, I don't want this, I don't want this." So every time I used to move on to the next one, um, that part will be missing, whatever I didn't want, and something else will be there, which I realize I don't want that. So every time there was a step up, it
Your
never went.
relationships were like Google searches, like filter.
You just refined it and refined it and refined it, and then you reach where you finally realize, okay, this is what I want. This is what I always wanted, and I think that is what I have got out of uh, in a relationship with you. Okay, what I wanted was very clear. How I wanted was more or less clear, and what ultimately I am able to achieve out of this is beyond my imagination itself. So it has not remained as a very private and very close kind of relationship where you're just partners in terms of you're in a relationship and you have your own separate passions and goals and achievement. We have actually merged our worlds together and we are co-creating something which is very beautiful. That is I3, and that is where this becomes unique for me. I always wanted somewhere I can be part of somebody's goal or somebody's desire. This is what I want to do, and with wholehearted पूरा mind body soul के साथ I am able to contribute in achieving that. And I think that is a culmination of the relationship that I see as of now. And as we evolve, every time you ask me, if I grow and you won't be there, like, and I never get this doubt. I will. My response is very standard. Okay, I'll always be there. And so far, I have been there. Right? So I don't know where it comes from that either your underconfidence in me, my overconfidence in me somewhere, it cancel out that under and over, and we develop a confidence about each other. Okay, this is where it is going to be, and
Yeah, but I don't think the audience even understands what we're talking of. The if I grow, will you be there? Will you not be there? And that's why I wanted off on like the very simple, the basic question that everyone asks, like how did you guys meet and how did you guys get into a relationship? So that's where I wanted to start off with. So for me, you were there as a friend
no,
for a very.
our talk cannot remain, mundane, or it can't.
But we
Otherwise,
were told yesterday that
then
we
people will know it is a marketing gimmick. It is not the actual podcast these guys are doing. This will be
all right.
like, okay, I went to Goa, I was chasing you, and then you didn't pay attention to me, and then after a couple of months, you were chasing me, and I was like doing something else, and
I wasn't chasing you
then
ever.
we went for a movie, and then okay, I forgot to ask you for dinner. Then we went for a restaurant whose name was Manali, and it was raining, and I ordered a chicken which was salty. I remember everything. So
Chicken.
yeah,
I was vegan that time. I must have eaten
I,
like a
I,
dal
I,
khichdi. Acha,
I
you.
ordered
Okay.
chicken which was very salty. So I still remember all those things. But that is not what love or relationship is all about. If you really, really want to know,
Have we even like done one Valentine's Day properly, like how it's supposed to be
yes,
card?
I am wearing pink
That's
today.
because the office asked us to wear pink and whatever white. I can't, I really can't remember doing Valentine's Day with you. Like, did we ever? No, no, I don't think so. Anyway, I mean, that is also
नहीं,
not what
I
relationships.
mean, initially you would run away. ऐसा कुछ मैंने overtly ये किया तो your Valentine was
So,
restricted to
so
the.
coming back to that question that you asked in the beginning of this live, what is love? So, what is
So what
love?
is for me? It has always been being able to explore my full potential in terms of the capabilities that I have, and my partner is allowing me to do that. At the same time, being absolutely vulnerable about what I am not capable of doing, and my partner is entirely comfortable with that. So whatever you are able to do, whatever you're not able to do with both aspect of your personality, that is what makes you you. And your partner also has similar aspect, and both of you are comfortable with each other's able to do, not able to do aspect. So that is what for me the love, which what it does is it frees you. It allows you to explore yourself beyond your imagination, and that is what I have manifested, and I have seen it, and that I see every moment and every day of this life that I was not able to do before. So whenever people ask me what is love, love is that allowing your every part of your being as comfortably with your partner as you are yourself with, and that is my idea of love. Yeah, I am able to do that, and every moment, every day feels like a new, because every moment I am exploring my newer part, and I am on the both sides, like what I am able to do, what I am not able to do, and you give me that space, and that feels like love. No, what do
Yeah,
you think?
I. So it's very hard to define love. Na? For me, it's a feeling. It's a feeling that mostly like is there inside me. I just feel that I mean, I feel that like for most people anyway, right? Like even when in the morning you're telling me about a person, uh, like how their family dynamics were and they lost someone and like that's caused deep trauma for them. I actually had tears in my eyes because I could feel what they were experiencing. I think that ability to feel another being comes from a place of like that itself feels like love to me, but I think beyond feeling is also set of behaviors, right? And I think that's where the behavior thing, what you mentioned, right? Like just being comfortable with who you are and like creating space for all aspects of you, all parts of you, all the quirks, all the madness, all the awesomeness, all of that.
All my jokes and all my Bollywood movies, and
Yeah, the Telugu ones also. So
yes, even
creating
Hollywood.
space for that, uh, and just letting you explore yourself, right? Like through the relationship we have, because I grow more in relationships than I grow individually, because individually I might have a sense of who I am, and always there'll be that blind spot, right? But when there is a relationship, especially something as intimate as you and I have, a lot of me only gets shown to me, right?
Hmm.
And then I can grow, then I can see, oh, this is something that I can improve on or get better at or just continue doing more of. So that ability to be absolutely 100% vulnerable, that space, like to be that vulnerable and not get judged, and the fact that both of us screw up and fuck up and like we make mistakes, but we still are really there to kind of hold each other, repair whatever broke, and like just bring ourselves back into a picture itself. Like that feels like love, right? Like for me, the worst nightmare was like last night was that like you were getting married to some random person and I was breaking up with you. Like nothing can wake me up from my sleep. Like not even the most atrocious dream of doomsday. And
I agree with you. Even though nothing else will wake me up from a dream, then I am dreaming like this. Yeah, I'm getting married to someone.
so,
I will just immediately wake up from a, this is my worst nightmare, getting into another marriage with some
so that
random person.
that is what really the relationship has become for me, right? It's become as much an aspect of my own individuality. Like you and I together are as much a part of me as me alone is. Um, and the fact that we can do this while still maintaining our separate spaces, right, without being in each other's faces 24 by 7, I think that's really beautiful, because I can do up my house with crystals and plants and wallpapers, and you can do up your house the way you want to, and we can still
Gym.
be together. So that, like that ability to be vulnerable, that space that you hold for me, for all of my expressions, right, like the anger to the crying to the absolute childlike innocence to the maddest creative ideation, including the drink that we're making for the mela. So that, and
So excuse me. We are making
we are, I said we are, na?
no. We are me. I am making, and you are part of it.
We are.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, so that, and the fact that there is someone whom I can really, really trust with something as precious as this baby called iThrive, right? Because iThrive and I were there much before you came into my life. And you came in and you started kind of building a lot of stability and structure, and like giving it the, like bringing your superpowers, your skills to make this little baby grow, and that I can trust you with like any paperwork. I know you're not going to get me to sign off and make the company in your name, right? So that kind of trust with my personal feelings and emotions and space and my vulnerabilities and the trust that I have with this creation, that is really, really important to me. To me, that also is a huge aspect of our relationship, right? And to be able to do all of that is what I think is love. So love is not like one thing that I can define, right? In the context of you and me, it is all of these things and more. That like if I feel sick, I can just tell you that, can you cook for me? I'm not feeling good, or I can come and stay at your place. Or on mornings when I feel like reading, I could just send you a message saying I want to read this morning and not make my own dabba, and then like because I know you're cooking for yourself anyway, you'll make food and bring it for me, right? All of those, like those little things, that feeling of being cared for, that feeling of being taken care of, right? That's also something that love feels like to me. So that's my idea of the love that we have. What else? And I think a very, very important aspect of what keeps our relationship really alive and brimming with energy is the fact that we are co-creating something together. Otherwise, like you had your long marriage, I've had my long marriage with my ex-husband. I think both of us experience that staleness that comes in after the initial honeymoon period is over, because mostly you're focusing on a kid, and the kid also has its independent mind, right? Like, you can't do too much with a human child the way you can with a company. And you're like living in your own personal spheres, you're not really working on the shadow stuff. And I think that's again something that's super important in my relationship with you, that you're willing to look at your darkness, you're willing to look at your shadow material, you're willing to actually work on that and not hide it and deny it, because we did go through our difficult, tough patch, and we could only repair that because you were willing to actually do the work like I was. So that is important as well. But I think it's this co-creation I thrive itself that keeps our relationship alive, because had you not come into this, you wouldn't have known who I was truly, and you would have just been like someone who comes and picks me up after work and then we go on dates and that's all.
Yeah. So the one important aspect you missed out, like you make Instagram stories about my little things, and you posted in your stories कि मेरा डब्बा मेरा ढक्कन मेरा ये मेरा वो मैं लेटा हूँ मीटिंग में. So I don't know where that come from. You are such a creative person. Eh? You make stories out of anything and everything. And I am like today also I had this. My dream was shattered today. You know, I thought cooking is an art, and this girl told me it's not. So anyway, so I have this particular thing about being in love or in relationship with you particularly. I never had this feeling before, and I have lots of experience. So even my best friend told me, I told her, see, I'm not feeling the way I used to feel, right? It's something that the Bollywoodish kind of stuff where, you know, the heart flutters and you get the song in the background and everything start looking red and green and rosy and everything. That didn't happen with you. Sometimes I wonder, I mean, whatever I was experiencing was hallucination, and what I am seeing right now is the reality.
No, actually, a lot of that, the nervousness, the butterfly flutters, the anxiety, it really feels like anxiety, right? So
Yeah.
when that happens in the initial phases of a relationship, it's actually a trauma response, because your body is, because I've been studying so much about nervous system dysregulation, right? So your body is sensing that you're getting into a
Another problem.
another issue, and it's sending you all of these signals which feel very exciting, very, because you've been in traumatic,
It's like being intoxicant. Na? You're putting alcohol into your
you're
body and
you're
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 ready to.
been in unsafe situations all along, all your relationships. You don't know what safety feels like. And again, you're jumping into another roller coaster, right? So the roller coaster feeling is what is happening when you get into that relationship, versus actually getting into a relationship that feels definitely much
More
safer and
safe and secure and
you won't get those flutters, you won't get
yeah.
that palpitation. These are all like these are symptoms of anxiety. Not ask anyone to describe an anxiety attack, they'll say palpitations, stomach churning, palpitations, breath goes fast, all of that, right? How can love be like anxiety?
Mhm.
Something is
So
fundamentally wrong now if that is happening. Love has to feel like love and peace are more correlated than love and anxiety can ever be, right? So usually all of these things that happen to people in the early phase of a relationship, I'm not discounting the honeymoon phase, that honeymoon phase where you want to spend time with each other, you want to learn more each other, like everything is beautiful, everything is awesome, that's separate, right? But these jittery things that happen, that's actually a trauma response. Your body is telling you that you're getting into some shit again. So I'm glad I didn't incite a trauma response in your body.
I know, and there is a that saying, no, you fall in love. In my case, it was like I always fail in love. First time I am rising in love, like literally on all levels of my growth. The actual what I wanted to do, I am getting to do here. The work I like, the kind of people I want to work with, the kind of work I want to do. I always wanted to do, and I was not sure what exactly was it. And everything I'm able to do. So actually, felt like I'm growing like in leaps and bounds by being with you, and this wouldn't have been possible if I was not in a relationship. So
Hmm.
it matters. Like both complements each other. My growth is tied to being in relationship with you, not only at the personal level, but also at the kind of dreams we had, the kind of philosophy that we espouse or practice or believe in. And both of us believe in different philosophies. Still, we are together. So, as you rightly said, your house is more of a crystals and wallpapers and colors, and mine is more of a plain blank and with the gym equipment around. And still, we like each other's houses, we like each other's company. And anyone who is listening, okay, this is how the love should feel like. You don't have to impose upon each other, maintaining your own boundaries, maintaining your own quirkiness, maintaining your own likes and dislikes. you can still be together, and that is what the relationship is all about. Why people get into then trouble? I mean, it's such a simple. I also got into my own fair share of troubles with respect to relationship, love. Is it undue expectation? It is like
No,
unrealistic.
it's not even undue expectations. Actually, a lot has to do with childhood attachment styles, also, right? So, for example, you have different attachment styles. You could have an anxious attachment style. You could have an avoidant attachment style. And there's a secure attachment, which is what you and I have actually developed and worked really hard towards maintaining. And like even at the beginning of our relationship, both of us were veering towards the other side, right? Like I definitely, in terms of my attachment style from the time I was a kid, was a very anxious. So I had an anxiety. Basically, for me, like if my relationship needs were to always experience closeness, to be there, like to feel very needed, to feel very needy, and if the person was missing, then I would start having anxiety, right? Versus how you were more of an avoidant pattern, right? Like if things got intense, if things got difficult, if you sensed conflict, you would just avoid and run away, and that's like your entire running thing. Also, I think came from there. But you'd shut down, like you'd shut down, you'd avoid, right? And versus I would like would want more and more, like just talk and tell me, and then like if I sent a message and blue ticks had happened, but no response would come, it would get really worse. So a
No,
lot of
you don't get blue ticks with my phone.
not with you. I'm just saying, like with other, like my pattern
मेरे को
itself.
किसी से चाहिए नहीं, मेरे को किसी को देना
So
नहीं.
your question was, why do things go wrong in relationships, in adult relationships? A lot of that has to do with our childhood upbringing and how we felt, whether we felt secure as children or not. How much trauma did we endure and experience as kids? What was the pattern that we chose then to deal with that trauma, to deal with conflict, right? To deal with the dysfunction that was there. Like you came from a dysfunctional household. Yours was a pretty apparent dysfunctional household with your like dad and alcohol and everything. Mine was like the standard dysfunction where externally everything looked great, but things were messed up only, right? So my pattern was that. So even in my first relationship, like my only relationship other than yours, I was extremely needy and codependent, and then to the extent of losing my sense of self just to satisfy the other person's needs, because the fear was like if I don't say yes to everything that is asked of me, I will be abandoned, right? And that fear of being abandoned by the other person allowed me to self abandon multiple times in multiple places in that particular relationship. So why do relationships go wrong? Because people don't understand their attachment styles. People don't know what is it that triggers them. People have not done enough work on their own childhood trauma and the triggers and all of that. And then they expect this other person to fulfill everything that feels missing in them, right? So if you are experiencing low mood, and again that could happen entirely for physiological reasons, right? Like we discovered through my genetics, my neurotransmitter stuff is fucked. Like I'm even surprised how I am like this generally happy most of the time, given what's really going on with my neurotransmitters, right? So let's say someone was really experiencing depression, and like instead of doing that self work, they would expect the other person to fulfill their needs. Or if they got triggered by the world outside them, something happened socially, right, in their network of friends, in the family, parents said something, and they got triggered and they didn't know how to regulate their emotions, they would expect the partner to do that for them. So that's one way it goes wrong. And like another human can't do that for you. You have to learn how to do it. Another person can hold the space and help you with tools, right? The other thing is that fear of loss, na, this anxious pattern may a lot of people have an anxious attachment pattern. So because they are afraid of losing, from that fear, they start attempting to possess the other person, right? Like hold on, grab, right? Like because they're afraid that even like a small degree of freedom will make this person like they'll just go away. They will not have this person in their life. And no being wants to be possessed. I mean, we speak of possession in the occult and esoterics, like some spirit has come and possessed your body, right? But like it is really that uncomfortable when you're trying to possess another being's thoughts, ideas, independence, freedom. So, in your case, mostly what was happening with the first relationship and many others that you had later on also was this entire like the women that you were with wanted to. grab you, possess you, and hold on to you. And that's what you would internally, intrinsically, at a soul level, just reject and then get out of that relationship. Avoid it. Maybe if you had learned all of the tools we have now, maybe even some of those relationships could have been repaired, right? Maybe you could have worked through them, had those women be willing to do their own self work. But then I wouldn't have met you. No, I'm glad. Whatever happened, happened. So I will not be so generous. But anyway, I think that's what happens. So people don't know how to self-regulate. They don't know what their own emotional minefield, the trigger field is like. Don't know their own attachment styles. They don't know what is their default patterns when things get difficult. Like conflict happens, do they get anxious? Do they get avoidant? And then out of the fear of losing the other person, they start trying to hold on and possess. And then most people are always looking for all their needs to be fulfilled from that one partner. So typically, even like I've seen this happen with so many people, right? They get married and then they lose their entire other set of people, their friends and the social network and everything, because it just becomes two people. Now, you are currently in a space where you're mostly alone, but that's coming from a spiritual evolutionary phase, not so much because the relationship expects that you are just with me and no one else kind of a thing. So yeah, long answer to your question about what really goes wrong in adult relationships.
Yeah, I mean, whatever relationship I have seen, the kind of work I do, apart from that, the people near and dear around me. So even one more pattern I have seen, like there is one person who is dependent and one person who is, it's more of a parasitic kind of relationship that
Yeah,
I have
the
seen.
narcissist kind of a thing,
Yeah,
right?
most of the relationship, and yesterday, like we were generally talking with the teammates, and one very young chap pointed out, all relationships are transactional. You give me this, I'll give you that, and you give me that, and over a period of time, that becomes the norm. Like it remains like a transaction. If the transaction stop for any reason, or one partner losing a job, or one partner just finding another purpose in life, that relationship is over. It is not based on them. They are not evolving it together. And a
Right.
lot of times, people, I find them to justify their coexistence, howsoever toxic or howsoever incompatible it may be, with the general idea that society expects us to be together, or for the kids we have to be together, or for our parents we are together, or for Samaj we have to be together. And they keep leaving that lie, and it just die like that. And that, it is such a waste of your human potential. And you came onto this planet to explore yourself more than, I mean, whatever you have done in your previous lifetime. And every time you come here and you don't explore, you don't allow yourself to grow, and you just go away without experiencing any of those things or without exploring any of those things, you're wasting this beautiful human life. And a little sad, but I've reached that stage where nothing surprises me. So yeah, everything goes, everything is okay, everything is fine as long as you don't kill each other. The moment you start killing each other, just run away. One other things I just wanted to have your thoughts on it, is this relationship is in terms of relationship between two people. No, these two people have their own set of relationship. So currently, I'm reading that book where they're talking about. You will also come from the concept of the life forces. Like there are so many life forces which is holding our life in an equilibrium. At the same time, you're trying to develop a bonding with some person, like a love relationship, which is another acquired kind of relationship, and there are default relationship that you have, your parents, your siblings, your relations, and your kids. These are all default relationship. Your acquired relationship is your spouses, your the job, the occupational relationship, and the friends. These are all acquired relationship. So, but most of us, whatever I have seen, we tend to get drawn towards one kind of relationship. We are not able to maintain that balance, and a lot of people find it struggling to maintain that balance. How do I keep my wife happy or my husband happy at the same time, in-laws happy, or my parents happy, or how do I maintain my work-life balance in terms of the colleagues at the workplace and my friends here. So there are so many relationships that we have which are not generally talked about. Whenever we talk about relationship, we normally talk about love relationship or the parent or the partner relationship. But ultimately, this relationship may be acquired one, the prominent one, but it has effect of all other bondings or forces that you both of us both the partners are carrying in their life. So any idea, like I have failed miserably in maintaining that the familiar relationship with the kind of relationship I have with you, or the work, or the spiritual self of me, that is not in consonant with what society expects me to be. And from societies, I am a failure as a partner, or as a father, or as any of those.
You
So
you
how
you
do we?
are taking the failure aspect from the past, like
Yeah.
not currently, na?
No, no, no. Now, at this level, I don't have any of those attachment which can pull me down, or which used to pull me down. What I have now is a very clear cut direction guidance. Okay, this is the direction I am taking, and I'm fairly certain this is the way I want to grow, and this is the direction I'm going to take. It doesn't happen with me, at least now. But I'm sure a lot of people, I've gone through that phase where you get pulled into one direction and then you have to compromise on another direction, then again another direction gets pulled. So is it necessary to have these kind of relationship? Like why do we even sustain, or why do we even get into these kind of relationships?
Yeah, so that's like you asked, I think you asked 10 questions in like 1 minute. But one of the things, like you said, like, how do you keep everyone happy, right? So it's not your job to keep everyone happy. People are responsible for their own happiness. In fact, you come together not from the expectation that, oh, when I meet you, you are going to make me happy. You come together from the place of like, look, I have all of these things to share, and you have all of these things to share,
I
and
am
like
happy, you are happy, and let's put
you
together
might
and make
not
more
always
happy.
be happy, right? Like life happens, shit happens, so you might be low, you might be sad and all of that, but you're not coming into a relationship all the time expecting the other person to make you happy. If there are moments of vulnerability, if there are moments of sadness, you want relationships or you want friendships where you could share that sadness and maybe just be sad if you want to be sad, without the other person necessarily having to bear the burden of making you happy. So I just want to take that off the table, that you are supposed to make other people happy. You're not really supposed to do that. Uh, for me, what helps, because now after going through that entire phase of being an ascetic, right? Like when I met you in 2019, I used to live like literally in the mountains, as far away from the city as possible. I did not want to meet humans also. Like you were the only person who came home from that space, and then it was like just work people, and then like eventually I've actually come to the other side of that solo ascetic existence to wanting to integrate physically more with society beyond what we do with iThrive, be of more service to the community, like my apartment group itself, do breath work and tai chi with them whenever possible, meet more friends, show up for things like we went for Pratishta's stall. I wouldn't have done that 2 years ago. So, how am I able to do that? I think two lessons I learned along this way in my own self work. One is like knowing who I am, right? Like understanding my central sun, my central soul, and what is it that I want to say yes to, what are the things I want to say no to, and then really, really not being afraid of saying no, right? Like that high level courage to make sure I wasn't ever abandoning myself for the sake of another. That is really what I had to develop deeply. And based on that inner knowledge, based on that inner voice, create boundaries with different kind of people. So surprisingly, I actually feel like inviting my dad home to live with me for a few days, right? Which was I wouldn't even have considered in 2019, because I just was like, this thing is out of my life. But I have very strict boundaries around different relationships. So it's layers. Like you are the closest, right? Like there's me at the center, and then you're next immediately to that. And then there are other friends, and then there are work friends, and then there are people like I met at the Jodhpur event. And so, like between me and my external most boundary, there are different people in different layers. Uh, some of them based on the deep like depth of interactions that we'll have, and if they're willing to grow as I grow, they might come closer and closer to the center. Some of them, as I grow and evolve more, and if they are not doing the work, they will go further and further away. In the last 1 year, I've seen three such examples, right? Like three people who I thought would be with me for life at work and like generally, and like they've just drifted away. They've just gone, right? Well, it's okay. I mean, that's natural. That's supposed to happen. If you're someone who's doing growth work, there is a very high chance that not all the people in your life will be able to keep up with you or stay with you, right? So to be able to let go, and that doesn't mean you're a failure, right? And that's why I asked you whether the failure word was coming from the past life, like people who labeled you as a failure. To them, you're a failure because you did not live in society's constructs of what should be done. Like you were miserable and unhappy and sad, and you were being siphoned off and leached for your resources, but you were supposed to just grin and bear it and drown yourself in alcohol and smoke and like just like manage to make it until your last breath. You did not do that, so you failed at that construct. And that's a good thing, right? Because you actually succeeded at discovering who you are and your passions and like just being happy with your life the way it is now, right?
Yes.
So I think that's a resounding success, even if the world thinks it's a failure.
I think that's what love is all about. Self love part. You start loving yourself first, and automatically you will find other people who love themselves, and maybe together you can create another beautiful relationship. So I think we have had enough. Like our talk cannot remain practical, mundane at 3D level. It has to go into
I know.
different dimensions. So guys, if you have been able to make sense, do write, comment, give us your feedback. What else we can talk about? We do release a podcast once a week. We talk extensively about all sorts of things that matters to humans, not only as a human being, but as an emotional being, mind being, and the spiritual being. Um, it's called Embracing the Human Experience podcast. Do watch. Vishweshwarya, lots of hearts to you too, and lots of Om and Shanti. The guy, I hope you are still watching us. So thank you very much for watching, and I think we should close, Mugdha.
Yes, I think because see, this is we can continue to speak on this for the entire day, but I have a consulted four,
Okay.
and sometimes when we start speaking high level, then not many people can connect with what we're speaking about. So we have to find a way to kind of
Not necessarily high level, different level.
yeah.
Yeah. So do reach out to us if you find this interesting, or if you want us to talk about anything, or we can talk about anything and everything. So see ya.
All
Bye.
right. Hello, bye bye. Thank you so much for those three people who stayed here and watched us right till the end.
Yes, I think one of them is Shrutika. Okay.
Bye.